We should drink in one of them.
That would be fun.
Are you cold? Do you need?
No. Intestine, but it's close.
Could you imagine? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 2 Cents.
We're back.
I think we're just gonna call it 2 cents.
Okay.
Like not with.
It makes sense.
Then it makes it long if you add like with me and with
it makes
you.
sense. And it's like 2 cents, and both of our names start with T, so it's like a
The
crossword
only
puzzle.
thing I'm thinking of adding is like 2 cents and tea, like TEA,
Oh.
because we give our 2 cents, but we also like
sip tea.
and like
And
talk
give tea.
Yeah, like talk tea.
And give tea.
So maybe
Okay.
2 cents and tea.
That's cute.
We also need to do a mini shoot. It doesn't have to be like professional, but like
I know, like with our cameras and stuff.
Yeah, so like our photos are cohesive for
Makes
the
sense.
because I
For, like,
haven't
the
changed
intro.
the intro and stuff yet.
It's fine. You
So
don't
sorry
need
if you're confused like
like,
by the
hi.
intro. It hasn't been updated yet.
It's fine. I'm easy. I'm like not
Yeah.
even like a diva.
You're really not. I guess before we get into the tea, I like to just go over kind of like what this is for new viewers.
Sure.
So if you're new to this series or my channel, this series here, we give advice to our friends, followers, and subscribers. So if you just email the email address listed here on the screen or in the description box, any situation that you need advice on, and you can provide as much or as little detail as you feel comfortable with. We read it verbatim here on the show. I guess it's kind of a show, right? We read it verbatim, so make sure like how you write it is how you want it to be read. And also just be sure to use fake names because we want to make sure that everyone in your story as well as you remains anonymous so that, you know, we're not outing anybody out here in these streets. You know, it's a small world. So that's what we do here. And we also just kind of catch up on live, do a little girl chat, and just talk about like anything that's going on right now in the media, in our lives.
We're literally like social media and like I don't know, entertainment whores kind of. Like we like consume that stuff like a lot and we love it. All of the reality shows.
Yes.
Always on TikTok.
We're always on the TikTok,
and
like drama.
Yeah, we usually know what the tea is.
Yeah. So yeah, we are just here to chat, have a good time, hopefully like distract you from anything that you need to take your mind off of. Some people told me they listen like while they're at work, period. Love that.
Love that.
Listen on the clock. Some people are, you're like a car.
I'm a car.
Listener.
I'm a trap music get ready person. But if it's a good
We're
podcast,
switched.
oh, you're a trap music
You're
car person.
a get ready music car listener. I'm a get ready listener, and then a car trap music. That's funny.
That's funny.
Okay, well, without further ado, since we gave them all the information, let's go ahead and like talk our shit and give the tea.
Let's do it.
Give advice, our 2 cents.
Okay, so you want to do tea.
Do you want to chat first?
Yeah, we can chat first. Is there any like specialty that you like want to talk about? Like
There's a touchy one I kind of want to
throw it.
Well, like, let's get a life update.
Like let's do a valley and a mountain.
A valley and a mountain.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I actually don't know what my mountain is right now. I guess my mountain would be like the things I have going on collab wise, because that like my biggest goal and like almost fear this year is like being successful doing content and stuff and like not falling flat on my face. So it's been really good.
Okay.
So I would say that's my mountain right now. But my valley is that I have to get braces in literally 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks? On the 28th. And though I am trying to be positive about it and be like, no, it's fine, because you know me, like I stress and I deep dive. So as soon as I knew that, I have been all over adult braces TikTok. And I've been looking up like people's like experiences on YouTube. They'll do a whole video like with their experience as an adult getting braces and stuff. Just trying to see like the vibe. Like, are they all miserable?
Yeah.
And mostly they're not. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. Not one person like has regretted it. They were like, obviously it's a little bit difficult to be getting braces in your like 20s or 30s or whatever, or even 40s, but they were like so worth it like in the end. And I'm like, okay. Like it made me like breathe a little.
Yeah.
Trying to stay positive, but I'm just scared for my mental health, because so much of my mental health has to do with like my freaking appearance, which I hate. I hate that that's something that I put so much emphasis on, but like low-key with my upbringing and then just like looking different where I grew up and just looking different in general and having a weird ass mix that like is not normal. So much
Don't say not normal. It's just uncommon.
Yeah, unique. We'll say it's unique. It's unique. But just my whole life, strangers, people I know, family members, the emphasis from other people towards me is always on how I look.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunately made me like pay so much attention to it and put it in such a high regard as opposed to like my personality or like my intelligence or something like that.
Right.
So I'm like, is it gonna mess me up like mentally so bad? Am I gonna be like so depressed?
No, I feel like, okay, this is like really random, but I think maybe because it's like the place I am in life, like not being married, I feel like getting braces as an adult is less social suicide when you're married. And I don't know why. Because like I feel like dating with that,
yes,
or like trying to meet new people like romantically with braces is much harder.
Much harder
than like you already have a husband. It's like whatever, accept me as I am.
True. So, that's true. I am not worried about that. I think too I'm worried about like I don't want to miss out on people's like things and events, and obviously I'm not gonna stop living life because of braces, but I think it's gonna be harder for me to like go places and not feel like people are just staring at my braces.
Yeah, I feel like that at first.
Yeah,
maybe at first, but then I feel like you just kind of get used to it.
I think I'm gonna get used to it.
Yeah,
I think so too. I'm trying to stay positive, but low-key like deep down it's like really, it's kind of bringing me down. So, and
the first one's top or bottom?
The first one's just top.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
It could be worse.
I could have like no teeth, so.
True story.
There's that.
True story.
Yeah.
Okay,
What's your mountain and your valley?
My mountain and my valley. Okay, I'll do valley first. I just feel like ever since Christmas, I just can like not get ahead financially. I just hate that feeling, you know? So I feel like after Christmas, I started at a new, job and everything, and then we had a break during Christmas. So it was something that I didn't anticipate because my other job didn't have a break.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I guess I have
to
unpaid break.
Right.
So I had to like, eat that. And then it was just like one thing after another. Like here in Texas, we had an ice storm. So that was another week off of work and just little things like that. So I was just like, dude, I just want a full month. Because I mean, it is just February.
Right.
I'm like, I just want a full like month where I have like a full freaking paycheck.
Yeah.
So I have to like look on the bright side because like thank goodness I have like my bridal business and stuff. So that has still been rolling and it's been keeping me afloat. But I think finally there's like a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now we're in a full week. I'll have like a full check, and then I have like a lot of more weddings and stuff coming up. So
it's good. You just have to be a little bit patient. I think it's one of those things where like you're good, like you're always able to pay your bills. Same, like we're always at this age, it's like we're making it, but we want to like be ahead of just making it. Like we're just making it. We want to be like at the point where you're past making it and no longer like it's not a main stressor in your life anymore.
Totally. And I always wonder, like, we look at our parents and we're just like, oh, we were kids, everything was fine, we always had everything we wanted. Money. It's like, did they ever feel like this? They probably did, but
they were
we
probably
just never
struggling
knew.
and they just keep it from us
because we were babies. And then I'd say my mountain,
we just went to Vegas.
I know, I was gonna say, I just went to Vegas, and so I'm like a trip person. I'm a Gemini, so like we like to roam and travel and wanderlust. So before I'm back from a trip, I like to have another trip. So we have another trip planned already.
Do you have Sag in your chart?
No, not really.
Because Sagittariuses are also like they live to travel, and like Jamie's like that too, and she's a Sag.
Yeah, it's like.
So I wondered.
I wonder if she has like a.
Some people, that's like what keeps them going.
Literally.
Yeah.
It's like I always have to have something to look forward to.
That's what it is.
So for me, it's cool too, because like with my bridal business, I always have something on the books. So like when I look at my month, when I see something on the books, I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Did you plan another trip?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, we're going somewhere in March. Not like, it's like a road trip though.
Oh, okay.
Like road trip.
Okay.
But
it's not super far.
And then we're planning something in June too.
Well, June's an exception. It's your birthday.
It's my birthday. It's pretty much gonna be for my birthday.
Yeah. Well, that's good for your mountains though, that you have another something on the books planned.
Totally. I'm more of a glass half full type of person in general, so.
I'm not, but I'm working on it. I'm a naturally negative person, but like as an adult, I've become more aware. So I try to, but just, I don't know. And
I think as a manifestor, you just have to become a glass half full person, because if you're half empty, you're not gonna get what you manifested.
No, I've gotten so much better at that. Like I'll have a negative thought, but I'll try to follow it up with a positive thought of the same like topic.
For sure.
Well, I have a topic that is a little It's a little touchy.
Okay.
Have you been seeing what?
Okay, go ahead.
What?
I don't know if it was it. I was like, it was.
Do you want to talk about Michaela really fast?
Kind of. That's what I was about to say. Okay, so like whatever. She never apologized. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I have PTSD with mascaras now. Every time somebody does a mascara review on TikTok, I'm just like, like, we should not do this anymore. But this really pretty one from like Too Faced that was chocolate brown like came out, and it looked really pretty.
Like the color of the packaging or the color of the mascara? The color of the mascara.
It's like a very rich chocolate brown. But again, every time someone does a review, I'm just like, why do we keep doing mascara reviews? Like, maybe we should just stop. So yeah, I had PTSD with that. But okay, let's move on.
Oh, okay. So after all the Michaela stuff kind of like died down, the other thing that's now popping up in kind of relation to the Michaela situation is Jeffree Star.
I knew you were gonna say this!
Well, because he went on a podcast. So first he came out of like the woodworks because of the Michaela stuff, right? And he was just like, I'm back doing reviews. Yes. And it wasn't that controversial. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, it was like shade. It was shade.
It was shade, but like, and people were putting in their 2 cents about like, we still hate Jeffree, like he's racist, this, that, and the third. But like, it wasn't like a huge thing.
Yes.
Okay, but now that he's like back on the scene, he went on a podcast. I don't know whose, but he went on a podcast and this became an issue, which is unrelated. But he made comments about like the whole like trans, non-binary and pronouns thing. Have you seen this?
No. I was stuck on him because, you know, he had the whole during the Super Bowl, he had the like nameless, faceless guy on the, and he's like, this is my boyfriend, he's in the NFL.
Okay, from the back though, did it not look like Cody? Michaela's Cody?
I look like Tom Brady. But it did like him too. It looked like,
the shape of the head and like the color of the hair, that's what it was.
For sure.
You know who they put it out?
I think they put it out. Yeah,
some football player that's retired.
Yeah, okay.
But he was openly out.
Okay, makes sense.
He was like out in the league, I think.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, but no. So he went on a podcast basically saying, don't quote me on this, is not verbatim, but something along the lines of like he thinks it's like ridiculous, or he just thinks it's like overplayed that the they them stuff.
Okay.
Saying like non-binary people, like he believes that you're just he or she.
Okay.
And basically he's saying that he doesn't think that like you can't be trans or that you can't identify as non-binary, but like just pick he or she, or like you down with both. We don't have to add like the they, the zays, and the whatever.
Okay.
And the backlash is insane.
Really?
People are pissed. Well, I think half they're pissed because it's him.
Right.
But then they're also pissed about, that's just something nowadays that you don't kind of like discredit or tell someone that they can't identify as a they or them or whatever. I mean, it's not, obviously I have privilege in the sense that like, it doesn't affect me.
Right.
So like, it's not a huge topic that I'm like, oh, it's do or die. Like racism is for me versus, you know? So I'm just like, I mean, if someone misgenders me, I don't care.
Right.
If someone asks me if I'm trans, trying to be like rude because they think that's like a diss that someone's trans, I don't care.
Right.
Like I'm not sensitive to that topic.
Right.
But
like,
people,
I don't have a horse in this race. So,
right. Like, and I get people who don't understand it. I have nothing against people who don't understand the lifestyle or don't understand non-binary or don't understand trans. As long as you respect the person, then that's fine. You don't have to understand it. Just like respect it, and like if they want to be called he or she or they or them, just call them that and like move on with your life because it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
But people are mad.
So first of all, I didn't know he said that. I did see some excerpts from that particular podcast when he was talking about the music industry and hip hop artists and being like super satanic and stuff. I did see those.
I didn't see that clip.
I
with
saw
like
that
the
clip.
Sam Smith performance.
Yes,
that's a whole other topic.
I saw that. But I feel like, so this is the funny thing about Jeffree Star and his stance. I think like when people are part of a community, meaning like if you're part of the African American community, if you're part of like a multi-ethnic community, if you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, I feel like you almost have a little bit of, I don't want to say responsibility, but you can speak on these topics, right? Other people that aren't a part can't speak on them. So I feel like the fact that he's a part of that community,
that's what he's saying.
Like him having his opinion, whether it's controversial or not, it's like he would be the person that can speak on it. So if that's what he feels, that's what he feels.
He went on his story after the backlash started about this piece of the podcast, and he said like, first of all, y'all are putting words in my mouth. I didn't say like non-binary people don't exist, or that I don't think they can be, or this, that, and the third. He's like, I'm part of the community. He's like, look at me. I'm a man, like I identify as this, but I look like this, and I dress like this, and I do makeup, and he's part of that community. So he's
probably
like
one of the pioneers that like was out in the media before it was cool.
Yeah. And so he was like, that was just my opinion about like the they them stuff. Like, it is what it is. Like, take it or leave it. That's just my opinion on the subject, and I'm part of the community, so it's like not that serious.
And that's exactly.
And I kind of took it like that, and I think I understand people being sensitive, because like, who am I to say you're not allowed to feel how you feel about a topic? But I think people just make it worse because it's Jeffree Star. Like, they'll do anything to make him. And I'm not like I like Jeffree Star, and I obviously know that he's said and done like some racist shit in the past or whatever. That was like almost 20 years ago, and he hasn't done anything since. His brand is completely diversified. I know personally the photographer that does all his campaigns. She's black, she's here, she's from Dallas. I've shot with her multiple times. She's shot with models I know, black models I know. And so I'm just like, I mean, people want to say like actions speak louder than words. Like, you can apologize with your words, but it doesn't mean anything unless the actions back it up. His actions back it up. So like, just let it go. And move on.
I think cancel culture is just dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Like, in general, because the thing about cancel culture is it doesn't have a name or a face. It's almost like back in like slavery times, they called it mob mentality, where people would just gang up in a mob and go lynch somebody. And like, individually, they would never do that to that person. But when they got together, and they didn't have a name or a face and just got to put their hood on, like, it was easy to do.
That's
true.
I
feel like behind the keyboard or behind your phone, it's easy to have mob mentality. And a lot of these accounts don't even have a face attached to the account. It's like a spinsta or a fake account, or one that they just use to bully and say mean things. It's like, dude, I just don't subscribe to it at all.
I just think if you don't like somebody, like, move on.
Move on. And it's funny because I feel like cancel culture, I think it's going to get to a point where like it just has a lifespan, and then people just forget about it.
It already is like that.
Once the next thing comes out, it's like you've moved on.
Everyone that I can think of that's been canceled, whether an influencer or like a celebrity, they're still out there living, thriving, getting jobs, working movies, having concerts, selling tickets. So it's like, it's only till the next thing. Exactly. It's like a giant high school.
It's even worse because you don't have to have an identity in there.
Oh, right.
You can be identityless. So you can like say all your crazy stuff. So
yeah, that's the only thing I can think of in the media.
Did you watch? Oh, we did watch the first episode of Vanderpump.
Yes.
I'll just have to say, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Me too.
Right now, that was just a setup episode. I'll just say
it was, and like, but I'm telling you, the preview for just like the season, it wasn't even like the next episode, like the season looks crazy.
It looks real spicy. I am excited to see the Housewives of Potomac reunion, because they taped it, and I think it comes out on Sunday, I want to say.
Oh, it's soon.
Yeah.
Okay, always excited for reunion. I'll watch reunions of shows that I didn't even watch the show.
That's all you need.
I know.
They tell you all the tea.
I love it so much, and I love when it's 3 parts.
Oh, 3 parts means it's gonna be juicy.
I know. If it's 2, I'm like mad. It needs to be 3.
Unpopular opinion though, I think they need to stop doing one of the parts with the husbands.
Oh yeah,
because usually the 3 parters have the husbands. I'm like, we don't care about them.
The only time the husbands are needed is if that was like a main story of the season,
right?
Like with Darby and the butt touching.
Yes. Oh yeah. They were needed for that. They were needed for that.
And like
but
Juan.
Yeah, this season, like
they don't need to be in this.
We don't need husbands.
There's no husband drama in this. Also, I know you watched freaking episodes without me.
What?
Harlem.
What do you mean?
But I caught up.
Okay, good.
I caught up.
So you watched 4 episodes so far?
I thought I saw 3, but maybe 4.
So I think 5 and 6 are out right now.
That's probably one of my favorite shows ever. If you haven't watched Harlem, love it. I love each character like individually.
And okay, so I just have to say this. I love Harlem and I love Run the World, and I feel like they're very similar, but they're very different.
I think so too.
So it's like there's a space for both of them. So please stop that which one is better BS, because
they're different
and I'm obsessed with both.
Same.
They need to do a crossover episode.
When's it coming?
I hope it's coming soon. It should be. They didn't cancel it, so.
No, they could not cancel it where it left.
But I will say Harlem came out after, and their season 2 is already out.
That's
so
true.
Hopefully it's soon. Maybe they're trying to not make them compete,
I'm not
so they'll do it after.
saying that one is better than the other, but if Is it called Run the World?
But what are you saying?
Run
the World.
If Run the World didn't come back, I would be sad, but not like life ending.
Yeah, you would be heartbroken.
If Harlem stopped, I would die.
Okay, you've picked your side.
Honestly, I think it's because like obviously Megan Good, I live to see her outfits on the show.
Yes.
Like and she's just stunning.
Yes.
And I just think it's like so interesting in her real life that I don't know if this was the reason. I know she divorced her extremely religious. Not saying she's not also extremely religious, because I think she still is, but like she was in that relationship where what was he like a pastor? Okay, they got divorced or whatever. I don't think it's because she took that role, but that was the narrative that the media put out, was because, you know, he's a very modest, like I think he would want her to be more modest, and she's like taking this promiscuous, very sexual role. But like there's no way he divorced her because of that, right?
I don't know. I feel like,
or that was just, there was other issues, and that was just the final.
Yep. And I was bummed because I read their book The Wait, and then when I was in LA, when I was in LA, they actually would come, he would come and pastor at my church, like as a guest artist, like a lot. And there was one, it was one where they like talked about the book together.
You saw her?
Yeah, they were like promoting it. Yes, like I was like,
is she tinier in person?
She's short.
She looks so like petite.
Yeah, she's super short. So, yeah, I would think I was kind of bummed.
Oh, I'm bummed. I loved them together, and it seemed like they kind of made each other better, and that's like what your person should do. But like, I also don't agree with if he just like either didn't want her to do acting at all anymore and was just like, oh, let me lead, like I'm the man, let me lead, like you just are like the wife or whatever. I don't like that, but I don't know if that's the truth, you know? Yeah,
it's so funny. I was talking to my mom, and I was actually talking to Trent about this the other day, but about in marriage, how like you have to be with people at every season of their life. So it's like you may make each other better at this season, but if you can't shift into the next season of making each other better, even if you're like husband or wife comes to you like, hey, I want to be a pilot today, it's like you gotta kind of support them in what they want to do. And when you can't do that, problems are gonna arise.
And going off what you just said, like there are gonna be seasons where you're both helping each other, and then there are gonna be seasons where like I'm not helping him at all and he's doing all the lifting to help me because I'm like not great, and then it switches.
I just worry about our generation as like people, you know, Generation Z and stuff, Gen Z and stuff, because everything is very like immediate and easy and easy accessible. So like if something's not easily accessible, like are they gonna give up? Are we gonna give up? Yeah, it's easier to say, oh, replace that. Like we don't need it anymore. So.
My prediction is like the divorce rates are just gonna go up and up, or people are just gonna stop getting married and just like serial date for their whole life. And like whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
So, are we ready to jump into some advice?
Do it.
Okay, this one's called Boyfriend Troubles. Help. This first story, trigger warning for SA, or like trauma dealing with SA. So, my boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. It'll be 3 years in March of 2023. We have 2 kids together, and he is my best friend. Okay. I have a past like most people, and it's definitely not something I'm proud of. My mental health has always been low. I did a lot of things I'm ashamed of, but I try not to let it get in the way. I self-sabotage. I know this, but I feel like he doesn't understand me and how I feel. I've explained several times why I feel the way I do about certain things, or why I do or don't like to do certain things. My boyfriend is very sexual. I'm not. His love language is physical touch, and mine is the complete opposite. He wants to have sex or do sexual things all the time. He likes to try new things, if you know what I mean. Then there's me, who is shy and uncomfortable with myself, my body, my mind. He would have sex every day if he could. He's very touchy, very handsy. I've had bad experiences with men, and I think I have become very jaded to love and intimacy. I used to be the biggest simp / hopeless romantic, and my connection to those things has completely vanished. In the beginning of our relationship, I was all for the touchy and physical aspect, but I got pregnant with my son 5 months into the relationship. Then got pregnant with my daughter when my son was about 8 months old. It quickly became very overwhelming, like understandably. Yeah. I'm exhausted all the time, overstimulated all the time, with my babies wanting my love and my attention 24/7, and then my boyfriend as well. We live a happy life and we do pretty well for ourselves, but we've had several arguments and setbacks in the relationship because of our connection, chemistry, sexual attraction. which has caused a lot of animosity towards each other. My boyfriend makes it uncomfortable to be around him when I don't want to be physical or intimate. He almost punishes me in a way where he's short with me or gives me the cold shoulder, all because we hadn't had sex in 3 days or 6 days. Am I the crazy one? Is it not normal to want to have sex all the time every single day? Do I not love him enough to give him what he needs? Are we doomed? Should I end things because of the way he treats me when I'm not in the mood? Should I not end things and just suck it up and do girlfriend wife things because that's how it goes? It's hard because we have children together and I do love him, but I don't like the way he makes me feel. He doesn't make me feel seen. He doesn't make me feel like he understands and respects my past and how it's had a huge impact on my life. Any advice would be so appreciated. Thanks.
Wow.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Or do you need to ponder?
I was processing this one. So first off, I think there's a couple things at play here. There's the past maybe sexual trauma that's happened, and there's also just you're freaking tired. You have 2 under 2. Literally, like I said, my day job is I teach, and I don't have any energy when I get home.
Period.
I can't imagine coming home to two under 2s. I would just be like, everyone, please just let me watch a reality show, please. Like, I literally plop on my couch and turn on Housewives when I get home and don't talk for 4 hours.
It's like when you have a spare like night to yourself or an hour to yourself, you kind of don't want to do something like you just want to nap or watch a show or do something mindless. Like,
and then I always wonder, like, when you have kids, it's probably a lot harder because obviously you don't want your kids to see you get it on.
Right.
So it's like...
You don't want to traumatize them.
Yeah, it's even more like a smaller window for all of those things. So I feel like, again, that's like the overarching theme of our show is always communication. You have to communicate. And I was thinking when you were reading, maybe there's like a code word or, you know, everyone says pineapples, but you know, whatever, a code word or something where if he's getting frustrated sexually or whatever, he can let you know and you can maybe like let him know where you are, but it has to be some communication on both ends.
Yeah.
I don't know like how excessive like she's not, you know, being intimate with him, if it's like a month, 2 weeks, whatever, but it doesn't seem like that. It seems like she's probably making herself do it a lot more than she wants to.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So I think it just has to be some communication and see if that works. And if he's still giving you the cold shoulder, that might just be an incompatibility situation.
Yeah.
Where, you know, he needs someone that's just a lot more like sexual like him, and you're just not, and that's okay.
So going off of what you said, because I can relate to a lot of this, and just there's something I've seen a lot of recently on TikTok actually that's in relation to this topic is like so much goes into women when it comes to our sexuality, our sex drive, all these things. From my understanding, it's not like that for men. Like they're either like a sexual person or they're not, and that doesn't fluctuate much throughout their life or their age or whatever, unlike us women, or if there is, I have seen zero conversation about that. But when it comes to women, there are so many changes from like our energy levels, our hormones, on and off birth control, after and before kids, during pregnancy, like all these things that affect all of that.
Freaking
our
cramps.
sex drive,
Literally.
And I actually struggle with the same thing as her. So, and I have yet to figure out like the issue, but as a teenager, I was a very sexual person. And in my last relationship, a very sexual person. Also, I was a lot younger. So I don't know if it's age, if it's because now I'm freaking tired, like doing anything. I'm on birth control. I don't know if that affects it. Hormonal imbalance. So it's like all these things, which brings me to this woman I've seen on TikTok, and like her whole TikTok is about this now because it literally like changed her life. She's maybe in her late 40s. No, maybe 50s. I think she's in her 50s. She's been married for a long time. And basically she was saying that she was experiencing like no sex drive to the point where they were about to get divorced. Because she was like, I just think I don't love my husband. I don't think we're attracted to each other anymore. Like we hadn't had sex in years, like this whole thing. They tried therapy, they tried all these things and nothing worked. And then she went and got her hormones checked and then got hormone therapy, which I'm still not super clear on what that is.
It's usually like estrogen or testosterone in a certain like
is it
cocktail.
like a shot?
It could be pills or a shot, but it's in a
okay.
certain cocktail for that person to
based on
balance
their
out
levels.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess her friend had suggested, like, how about you go try this one last thing, because it seems, you know, she's telling her friend, I've tried everything. I think I just don't love my husband. And or maybe I'm 50 and I just don't have a sex drive anymore, like whatever. She went and got her hormones checked, started hormone therapy, and she said everything changed. Her energy levels changed. She said, I was tired 24/7. She's like, I have more energy. Like, I have energy now in my 50s like I had when I was like 19. She's like, sex drive, right back up where it was when I was 20. Like, I didn't think it was possible. She said she had brain fog, all of that's gone, like all this stuff. So it's something I've been like trying to find a place out here, because I think you have to go to like a hormone, like it's not just your you know, primary doctor.
Right.
You have to go to like a specialist. The only reason I haven't is because I have 1,200 specialists right now. And I'm like, I cannot add on another one. But I'm the same way. I have zero sex drive. I'm not talking like, oh, it's low. I have none at all times. And I'm like, something's wrong with me. And I tried to get off birth control. I did for a couple months and I didn't really see a difference. And since I don't want kids, I was like, let me get back on this, because it didn't make a difference. But it's still hormones. Like,
yeah, it's still hormonal.
I don't know. So I relate to you in that, you know, what do you do? Yeah. Is it something wrong with you? Are you not attracted to him? You're unsure? Like, are you guys just not compatible, like you said?
And I also think like people love to say like what's normal,
right?
But we don't really know what's normal. Meaning like, oh, when you're married, you have to have sex 3 times a week or whatever. It's like,
and even dating, some people's normal is different. Like, I know people who've dated who have sex like 3 times a week and like that's their normal, and some people literally have sex 3 times a day and that's their normal.
That's their normal.
So yeah, and then getting into if he's gonna be a good match for you in general, aside from this, like outside of this sex issue, it doesn't seem like he's willing to like meet you where you're at in this situation, and like not even like temporarily, you know what I mean? Which could kind of be a red flag. It's kind of giving me the same vibes, and this is not, I'm not saying like this is what it is, but it's giving me the same vibes as like those men who are like, my girl can like never gain weight. Because I met her like this and I'm attracted to her like this,
right?
And if she gains weight ever, like I'm not gonna be attracted to her. It's giving me that vibes where it's like you've told him that you have this past and this trauma that, you know, it's hard for you to navigate sometimes or whatever, and instead of being sensitive to that and saying, okay, well, I love you regardless and I want you to be comfortable in our, you know, sex life and whatever, and maybe having sex less often is something we need to do.
Blocking her out.
Yeah, and he's getting upset. Like, it seems like this is, from his perspective, like this is about him and it's not about you. And that's kind of a red flag in general, because if there's other situations in your relationship like that, is he going to be selfish in those aspects as well? And like what your feelings or thoughts about it just doesn't matter. That's kind of where I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. And I mean, I like saw this controversial kind of thing, you know, there's a lot of podcasts and excerpts from podcasts, and I remember seeing this one, I can't cite who it was, but it was more of like a male perspective podcast, and they were asking if women, like you said, before marriage, when like you're a girlfriend and you're probably a lot more intimate and excited and honeymoon phase, once you get married and that wears off, is not having sex as often grounds to get divorced? For the man's perspective, of course, this is like male perspective podcast, they're like, well, you were doing stuff before that you're not doing now in marriage. So that's why I feel like our generation gives up too easily a lot of times, because they don't realize that people go through ebbs and flows.
I feel like just like anything else, that should be something known going into the marriage. Like, you should both be on the same page that like what's important in your relationship. For me and Vic, like obviously in any relationship, sex is important, but it's not like the #1 thing. Other things are more important, but in other relationships, maybe that's, you know, higher on their list of importance, and they should be on the same page about that going in, so that if the sex does stop, like the other person who feels like it shouldn't stop is like, hey, like we talked about this. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's what I feel like with this girl, she probably should have that conversation now before marriage. Oh yeah. Because he seems like he really is one of those sex is really important people, and for her it's not so much, because there's a lot of different ways to get intimacy that aren't sex. So
it's
like, I mean, for me personally, sitting on the couch and watching a TV show with my boyfriend is like an intimate thing we do. It's like something we do all the time. We don't watch the shows without each other. We discuss them. We like have our talking points. We look forward to that. So it's like, that's a non-sexual intimate thing, you know? Planning a trip is like non-sexual intimate thing. So I don't know. They need to get on the same page though, for sure.
I think, yeah, you guys are completely off on different pages. I think my advice would start with a conversation. It sounds like you've had some with him already, because he's aware of like your past and like you telling him things that you do and don't like. He's not respecting your boundaries, for one, because you also said like he does things that you don't like, that you've said you don't like. That kind of scares me. I'm not trying to be dramatic.
Yeah, no,
but that seems like there's boundaries in life, and a very important boundary that like people should not cross is when it comes to sex.
Yeah.
In a relationship, wife or not, I understand the like compromise of sometimes you do it when you aren't in the mood to do it, but that's like sometimes, like every once in a while.
Right.
If that's every time, that's a problem.
Right. And that's more for the other person's like feelings.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like you're unwilling to, you know, or you don't want to.
You saying willing to is like it's just making me think that's like the whole thing here on both sides. So it's like, are you willing to try to work on your past traumas that might be blocking like this sexual energy that you're lacking right now, or going to see a hormone therapist and getting your hormones checked? Are you willing to do those things for this person? But also, is he willing to back it up, you know, or like meet you halfway on this journey? Because you're not where he's at right now. And I don't get why he's not understanding that. If like he cares and loves you, that's like blowing my mind right now. He's not willing to do anything on his half.
Chop him.
Y'all should not be in a relationship together. Kids or not.
Yeah, chop.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm more of a chopper than anything.
Yeah,
I'm more of a chopper.
Yeah.
So good luck.
So good luck. I hope that because even whether you stay with this person or not, you do need to address that trauma for yourself.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you read the second one because that's a little outside of my
trigger warning. First of all, I love the series and I find it so helpful and I've learned so much.
I love that.
I love that. Secondly, I would like love advice on something that happened to me about a year ago. I was with my first boyfriend, we'll call him Andrew, and at that time, we had been dating for around 6 months. I was 17 and so in love. I was completely enamored with him and he had convinced me that we would be together forever. He'd always been very pushy when it came to sex, but I thought it was just cause he loved me. So many times I can remember not wanting to do anything. These are like really similar.
Yeah.
Not wanting to do anything with him, but him making me feel guilty or obligated, so I gave in. One night he got a little physical and grabbed me, and when I brought it up later, he said it was an accident and he didn't realize that he had hurt me. I decided to forget about it, even though all my friends were telling me to cut him off. One night in particular, I was going through a lot of family stuff and we had just gotten off the phone with my mom and I ended up crying. I was also on my period. We started watching movies and cuddling, which is all I wanted to do because I was stressed and tired and I didn't feel good. He started kissing me and touching me until he eventually was on top of me. I said no more than once and I pushed his hands away, but he kept going. Andrew's mom's office was attached to his bedroom, so I knew it was a bad idea to do anything anyways. I guess the family was home.
Yeah.
I told him that and he ignored me. He started smushing me and wouldn't get off. Similar things had happened before and I knew it was easier to give in than try to fight. Eventually, I just let him and it was awful. I remember being in shock and barely being able to stand up. He thought it was funny. Oh my gosh. I curled up in a ball and cried while he showered. When Andrew came out of the shower, he didn't even notice how I was feeling. He just got in the bed and turned the movie back on. When I told my friends about this, they told me that that was sexual assault. I didn't think it was because eventually I said yes, and eventually I guess I wanted it as well. How can you not when someone you love is touching you and he knew how it felt and he's telling you that he loves you. Anyway, I asked Andrew about it before I broke up with him and he said it wasn't sexual assault at all and that I wanted it and I was crazy to think that. I broke up with him that day and it was the hardest thing I've done. Looking back, it was so toxic and I'm so glad it's over. I went to a tons of therapy and I still dream about it, about him too. I can't help but think about it, think it was my fault, I can't help but think, oh, it was my fault and I shouldn't have done more. So she thinks it's her fault. The worst part is that I have class with him every day. I've spent the last year working on myself and not being in a relationship, but but haven't been able to have any enjoyable sexual experiences since this incident. I hate how much I still think about Andrew, and I hate how much power it feels like he has over me. I also can't help but think, if this wasn't sexual assault.
I would say, first, I would say that don't invalidate your experience with that and say like, oh, like because he said it wasn't that it wasn't that. You knew how you felt. You knew, you know, what the situation was. So I think invalidating it makes it, like, it invalidates you and like your feelings, and like clearly you have trauma over this, and that's not for no reason. Like if it was nothing, you wouldn't have all these feelings all this time afterwards and during and all of that. So I would say don't give the power to others by saying that situation wasn't real or that, you know, didn't happen or whatever. And also I would say that the only real way to, I mean, get over it is going to therapy. For some people, talking about it with like friends and family might help, or maybe like other people that have been in a similar situation, that might help you. But that's kind of hard unless you like seek out a group that's like specific for that. It's kind of hard to find, you know, people in your normal life that have been through that and would understand, and you feel safe enough to tell them the story and not be judged, and that's tough. That's my advice on that.
Yeah, this is tough. Also in college back in the day, I was a women's studies major. We talked a lot about—
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was my major.
What?
And it was a fairly new major at my college at the time, but we talk extensively. Obviously, women's studies, we're talking about anything that has to do with women. One of the things that we talked about extensively in a lot of different classes was sexual violence and sexuality. My concentration was gender and sexuality. So with that being said, I had this one class, it was a discussion, and I've always taken this with me, that anytime, I don't care if it's like your husband, your boyfriend, the love of your life, freaking Drake, I don't care, like a celebrity that you've always wanted to bang, if you were in any sort of sexual experience, in any step of the way in that sexual experience, from foreplay to the end, if you say no, stop, I'm done, I'm not feeling this, every person should like hands up and stop. Male or female, male or male, female or female, whoever. Like there may be times where you're in it, you're great, you may have even initiated it. And if you are not feeling something in that moment and you're like, you know what, I think I want to stop, they have to stop. If the other person does not stop, it's sexual assault. Period, point blank. And it's never your fault. It needs to be constant consent, like even when you're going to different positions or whatever you're doing. So my point is, you are totally valid in your feelings, and I'm really proud of you for even breaking up with him.
I know,
because it's like would never change. He may have some sort of trauma or sexual trauma in his life, or something has happened with him, because that is not normal. And forcing yourself upon people is not normal. And
that's also not an excuse.
No.
Like whether he's had his own trauma or not, that's not an excuse to do that to somebody.
So I'm glad you got away from him. Hopefully your class ends soon and you don't have to keep dealing with that or seeing that person that did that to you, because that's trauma in itself. But with that being said, like Leah said, you have to get a therapist, and you have to get someone that can help you unpack having to see an abuser over and over again, because that happens in people's families, in a lot of different, you know, schools, whatever. Someone has had sexual abuse and they have to keep seeing this person. So that's trauma in itself. So I would just say, keep taking care of yourself. Keep taking care
it sounds like you've been to therapy. I would continue, even if you like feel, because in therapy or just throughout life, like you feel okay about certain things and then you won't, and then you will, and then you won't. So even when you start getting better in therapy, there could be ebbs and flows. So you should just be consistent with your therapy. And maybe there's ways, because in this particular situation, you know the person and see the person on a regular basis. Maybe your therapist can help you find ways to, if you're, you know, near this person physically, or they're in your like eyesight and it's like triggering, maybe ways to cope with that, or ways to kind of calm you down in those situations that you maybe can't figure out on your own, like it's just too hard. I think therapy's the best way. I would say this is something like you never get over. It's gonna be with you for the rest of your life, unfortunately, and for you to be so young, like that's hard. But keep going to therapy. And props to your friends. You have good friends. I would keep them around. Because if you had a girlfriend or even a guy friend that said like, you're making a big deal out of it, like, no. If you had any friends like that you didn't mention, cut those people out. Keep your friends around that clearly care for you and your safety. And yeah, super proud that you broke up with him at a young age too. Young love is like the hardest. And you feel like everything's so grand when you're younger, like, oh, I might be with this person forever, like this person might be the one, like this person's my whole world. So to be able to do that is amazing. And what he said to you is some bullshit, so don't listen to what he said. So keep going to therapy. I hope it gets better for you. That's so hard. Okay. Oh,
that's a long one.
I know, and the title has me intrigued. Okay, this one's titled Parent Trap, Not the Funny Kind.
Yeah, that's
Where
funny,
is this going?
I know.
Like, I'm so intrigued. Okay, hi Leah, I adore your content and I hope you continue this series. I feel like I'm chopping it up with my girls when I watch your YouTube while I get ready. Oh, so she does watch while she gets ready.
Goals.
If you and Tori have it in you, I could use some advice because my parents have really pushed me and I don't know what to do anymore. So hold on, I gotta burp.
Yum.
That was gross. So let me get you up to speed on this.
I just want you to know that burps are farts out of your mouth.
Thanks for that.
Intestine, but it's close.
Could you imagine? So let me get you up to speed on this. I'm sorry if it's a lot. Feel free to edit this however you need. Guys, we love
when it's a lot.
When it's a lot.
Details.
We love the details. Yes. Okay. I was a chronic people pleaser when it came to my parents, husband, and job. I used to confuse showing up for people and working hard as way to earn someone filling up my cup too. In 2016, my previous boss / mentors started a company in Nashville and tried to come get me to work for him almost immediately. Each time a position opened up in my field, he kept making me offers for 3 years. That's persistent.
Right.
I said no multiple times, even though I really wanted to take the opportunities because of how my husband and parents felt about it. In November 2019, my husband and I were in an awful place in our marriage and I was sick of not living for me. So I finally took the job. I had no plan and had to move my whole life in 2 weeks, but it felt amazing to finally do something for myself that I was passionate about. I even told my husband he could stay in Texas because I was going to do this with or without him. Oh.
A boss.
Period. In March of 2020, I started and we moved from Texas to Tennessee.
So he went with you.
Yes.
Okay.
It was honestly great because it completely changed my marriage and helped my husband see how exhausted I was with the problems in our relationship. We went to therapy together and separately, which has made a huge difference. And 3 years later, we're happy and thriving again. I would just like to say this ties back to the first story where like the relationship can be right. If both parties are willing to do the work, even if you're in like the worst place you can possibly imagine, like it can come out the other end. Yep. However, my relationship with my parents started to deteriorate quickly. I'm an only child and a military kid, so it was always just the three of us. We spent a lot of time overseas and living away from our extended family while I was growing up. That closeness also came with some downsides because infidelity and a lack of trust has been an issue in my parents' marriage since before I was born. I want to be clear that I have great parents who were always supportive / encouraging of me, but unfortunately involved me in their problems. They've spent the last 35 plus years in a very unhappy marriage making me pick sides. I've begged them to get divorced since I was little. When you want your parents to get divorced, that says a lot.
It's rough.
You know? After I left Texas, the relationship had started to collapse even more, putting added pressure on me. They only talked to me separately on the phone / FaceTime, and it was consistently to complain about the other one. When I would visit them or they'd come to Tennessee, I'd inevitably end up mediating some dumb fight they'd rehash for the 100th time. The last time I was home in July 2022, it was particularly bad because I found out they basically live in a house not acknowledging each other until I'm involved or having rowdy fights. Then they got into a fight one day and roped me in again. I couldn't take it anymore and snapped. I cut my trip short and told them I couldn't be the family glue anymore. Good for you.
Boundaries.
Yeah. When I got back, I offered multiple times to pay for / set up family counseling for all three of us to go, even if it meant I had to fly home every session. They each spent more time trying to convince me why the other would be the main problem rather than deciding for themselves if family therapy was the right choice. I tried one more FaceTime with both of them so we could decide on therapy, but again, neither of them would talk with me together, so I tapped out. I sent them a text saying I didn't appreciate how they won't respect my boundaries when I told them I wanted to stay out of their marital problems and their lack of effort when it came to trying to fix the dynamic between the three of us. At that point, they both lashed out at me, then each other, and I felt defeated again. So I stopped talking to them. I accepted their marriage isn't my responsibility to fix, and trying to, fix our family was hindering me from being happy. Over the last 7 months, I've started seeing how much their problems affected me. 100%. Yeah. And from a little girl, yeah. I finally feel like there's a weight off my shoulders and I can 100% focus on bettering my life. My husband and I both got huge promotions, and I even started going to school again to finish my degree. I feel happier than I have in years, and while I missed my parents, I started to be afraid of letting them back into my life. Fast forward to the past holidays. I reached out asking if they'd like to talk, and surprisingly, they agreed to FaceTime me together. After about 5 minutes of pleasantries, it all went to shit. Almost immediately, my dad started in on me about being demanding and controlling because I'm using their love for me as leverage to get what I want. Then, that's...
Yikes.
I know. Then my mom started to tell me how I'm disrespectful and that I should be grateful because I didn't understand how bad it was in her home growing up. Even them teaming up on me didn't prevent the argument from taking a turn back into their marriage, and I went from the target to the referee. I ended up hanging up on them. It's been a few weeks and they've both sent me individual apologies, but I don't trust them anymore. I don't know what to do. I feel like I can't have a relationship with them individually because they can't separate out their problems from me, and I can't have my family because their toxic marriage spoils any time the three of us have together. Now that I feel like I'm finally thriving, I'm working hard to protect my success/blessing, and it hurts to feel like my parents are the ones I'm protecting it from instead of sharing it with. I'm sorry if this is a somber submission, but I would appreciate any advice y'all have. Do not apologize. This is what we're here for. That is so hard. First of all, I think you did the right thing. Sometimes if people aren't hearing you over and over and over and over again, you might not want to cut them off, but like, what choice have they given you?
Right.
You're being the mature one in this, and you're the child. And I think you did the right thing by kind of cutting them off, because maybe that could have, I mean, it didn't sound like it was, but that could have been a wake-up call, like, oh, if we don't stop doing this and roping her in and making everything...
It doesn't seem like it was, though.
I know, but I understand why she cut them off. Like, that could have been their final, like, hello, we're gonna lose our family and our daughter in our lives if we don't cut this out.
Right.
Didn't sound like that happened, but you're right, though. Their marriage and their issues is not your responsibility to fix. No. But you kind of have to wait, like, you know, have a good, happy life and family full of blessings with your new family, with your husband and stuff, or just because you don't want to like lose your first family, you put up with their crap. Me personally, I'm doing what you did. I'm cutting them off.
Yeah. Usually, you know, I'm like family first.
Yeah.
Team family first.
Yeah.
In this situation, I agree with you.
Yeah.
You have a new family, you have a husband, you guys have worked through your problems.
Props to y'all for going to counseling separately and together. Like, love that for both of you.
To be honest, the most I would do, you know, still loving my parents probably, I would send text messages, you know, for holidays and birthdays, and, you know
Merry
send
Christmas.
pictures and love you, but that would be the extent of it. And
Me too.
If you did feel inclined to call after the 5 minutes of pleasantries were over and they started in, I would hang up immediately.
All right.
I'd be like, this is why this happens very less and less often. And I just hang up. And you just have to protect your peace. And I would stick with that, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones in the end that have to apologize to you when their days are, you know, almost over, and they have to say like, I am so sorry for doing that. Because everyone gets to that point where they, you know, figure it out and look back at their life and, you know, decide like what they did good and what they did bad, and that's for them to do. It's not your burden. Yeah, and obviously they want to stay toxic with each other. Like, they won't divorce.
Yeah, why would
obviously they won't divorce and go be happy apart, because it's probably just a really, really toxic, you know, relationship that they depend on each other. You know, they don't know anything else. So
did I read in there that the parents, I know the parents didn't do counseling as a family. Did the parents do counseling at all?
That doesn't look like they want to do counseling at all.
crazy that like as the kid in your own marriage, like that was struggling, you guys went to therapy and helped your relationship, which I'm sure your parents, I'm assuming they know that y'all went to therapy and did all this stuff, and yet they won't do it. That is crazy. A lot of older
people won't. They just think like no one can tell me about myself.
No, and, my family's very much, not just like my parents or whatever. Probably my parents would actually probably be open to it nowadays, but like just my parents' generation of my aunts and uncles and stuff in general, it's not, therapy is like very like,
baby boomers are not about it, and then
I think it's the generation
are not about that either.
The generation, but also it's kind of a racial thing, like
minorities
where minorities are like, no, first of all, you don't air your dirty laundry to a stranger or whatever, or like put yourself out there. It's very like taboo in my Black and Asian upbringing.
Therapy is, unfortunately, like it should be a necessity, but
for
it's
like
a luxury.
Literally everybody, even people doing great.
Some people don't even accept insurance.
That's true.
That
it
are really
is
good therapists, so it's a luxury for a lot of people.
But I will say, like, there are people who, like, I'm not, you know, religious, but people can seek therapy at church. Isn't that free?
Yeah, usually the pastor will
will like some marriage counseling and stuff like that. So I mean, there are ways.
Think those are unbiased opinions, you know.
Yeah, so that's true.
Yeah, like I mean, now I think with all the mental health issues that we're having in the world, there is definitely a push to have more therapists, have more psychiatrists, and have that stuff be covered by insurance, but it's still tough. It's still hard. And you have to have a pretty good insurance in order to even get those things, or a quality therapist. Is there
not like a Planned Parenthood of
therapy? There's hotlines and stuff.
Okay.
But usually hotlines are more so like you know, for emergency situations where someone feels like
there's not like a place you can go, like a rec center of therapy.
Some schools will have like therapists in training will have almost like student clinics where they can, you know, counsel people, but they're not fully licensed, but they're getting licensed. So there are resources, but again, they're harder to find.
And if you're already like not that willing, like you don't really want to do it in the first place. If there's like if there's a roadblock, you're just gonna be like, forget it.
Exactly.
You know?
So, but people need to make it more of a priority. And, you know, again, we spend a lot of money on a lot of things. People go out to dinner, they online shop, they have Amazon.
People spend so much on freaking Uber Eats. I know like, you can scrape
put
together.
That money towards your mental health.
Especially to save like a marriage if you feel like it's savable. Well, I mean, they might as well do counseling, because it's not even like they're on the fence about getting divorced or not. They're not getting divorced. So like if you're gonna stay in this marriage and ride it out till the end, might as well make it a better marriage. And that you're dealing with all of this on your own because you're an only child. You can't even like share this
At least
burden.
With a sibling, it's like, you know, mom and dad are crazy. You know, but I mean, honestly, kudos to you, and it seems like
you have a great head on your shoulders.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you really need our advice. Like you told us what you're doing. But like, so
that's like amazing, because when you're brought up, honestly, you've beat so many like of the things going against you growing up in that environment. When you grow up in an environment like that where there's a lot of fighting, or like you're put in the middle and and you're kind of like in a sense alone because you didn't have a sibling to go like go in their room and talk with or cry with or whatever, for you to be married is tough, because a lot of times that goes into your dating life, and your relationships and everything, or you carry on those patterns of like being argumentative or blaming other people or whatever. So you're like married, and then you seek therapy, which you never saw your parents do. So they didn't set that example. You did that, like you took a risk, you moved and like bettered your life. All of these things like really sets up kids for all these things they have to work through in therapy later. And like you've done such an amazing job as an individual to kind of combat all these things that were going against you. So freaking what sign are you? Like, why are you such a strong, amazing human being?
Probably a Leo.
Maybe, shoot. That's awesome that you did that. And yeah, I think the whole thing is like great what you've done. You put up a boundary, you put focus on your own marriage so much.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing. I would keep the boundaries with your parents. It's one of those things, like for me, I think if I was in the situation, I would still like text and do some phone calls here and there, and that would be like my little like toes in the water.
Just more of a
however respecting but just kind of like keeping them in the loop, because like they're your family, you love them. But I will say, as knowing me, if I kept like trying and I kept getting shitted on, I would eventually stop.
Yeah. And I'm glad you worked everything out with your husband. So it's like when you know, make your own family, you don't have to go at it alone, you know? You have like this other family that you can structure the way that you want and have a loving household. And if you guys do choose to have children, like, you can raise your kids up not how you were raised and break that generational curse.
Honestly, you sound like a freaking rock star. You don't even need our advice. You're amazing. This one's not that long.
Yeah, cat hair.
Do you want to read this one?
Sure. Oh, okay. This is friendship
We're gonna
advice.
do one more.
Okay, one more. Is that Dear Leah and Tori? Oh,
we love that.
Here's my dilemma. I've known my best friend for 17 years. She met her partner 11 years ago. She was his affair partner.
That took a turn quickly.
Eventually, with pressure from her, he left his family for her, as she was pregnant with his second child by then. Okay.
Oh, so he didn't leave until...
The second child by her.
Wait. Oh, he has another child with
the affair partner.
He's got two with the affair partner?
Yeah.
And he stayed with the other...
Until the second one, and she put pressure on him.
Oh my God. Sorry, that was a lot for me to swallow.
They have been together since, but to say their relationship is healthy is a huge understatement.
Okay.
Her relationship with him has cycles of toxic highs and extreme low lows. Before the pandemic, she caught him in a long-term affair with someone else.
How you get them is how you lose them.
Are we surprised? He's a serial. Earlier in our friendship, I had given her advice, which she would vent to me about their struggles. Oh yeah, I know what you're gonna say to this already. And she would get extremely defensive and angry. Now I keep my opinions to myself and let her come to me if and when she wants to vent. Recently, she opened up to me about how they are rebuilding trust. He needs her permission to pick up an extra shift at work. If he's out with friends, he has to send her a Snapchat every 30 minutes to prove where he is. To prove where he is, where he says he is. And he has to keep his location on at all times.
I don't mean to laugh. Sorry. I'm being insensitive.
I'm being insensitive on purpose. This is nuts.
This is nuts.
She also expressed to me that he is emotionally unavailable, and she has called me several times crying hysterically from panic attacks because she feels like he is suspicious and doing something. Like she's suspicious of him doing something. Rightfully. I know she's not looking for advice. As anyone that has voiced their concerns in the past, she has cut off, or as I mentioned, would get upset or defensive. Okay. Yeah. She puts forth this image of a happy relationship and family on social media, which I know it's far from it. Damn, I hate that. I hate that. It has gotten to the point where I cannot tolerate this BS, and I know I can't do anything to change her situation or want better for her. But I also don't want my silence to be interpreted as enabling her relationship. We are in different places in life. I'm single, I've gone back to school, I have a kid, and she would often make statements to minimize me since I'm not partnered. Ooh, I have so many things to say. Me too. I'm slowly losing respect for her when I see what she puts up with and willing to accept, yet under the same breath will judge others' relationships. How would you navigate through this friendship if this were you? Have we outgrown the friendship? Would you say something, or is it okay to avoid all comments if and when she chooses to open up to me about the relationship? P.S. I love Tori as a permanent guest host. Keep up the good work, ladies. Aww.
Girl, you already know what I'm gonna say.
I know what you're gonna say.
I'm cutting the friendship off. 17 years or not, like, first of all,
let's just note 17 years, but 11 years she's been with dude. So really, you've been dealing with this
for
you've
a
only
decade.
had like 6 years of fun friendship.
Literally. I have a few things. Like, okay. Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
Well, okay. Part of me is like, I'm being a hypocrite right now though. Part of me is like, I wouldn't be friends with somebody who would get with a married person. But I also have some really shady ass friends who do like shady things, and I'm still friends with them. We all do. So it's like, okay, whatever. She got with a married person. That's icky. I see what you did though. We seem similar in that sense where you gave your advice for however long, and then she never takes it. She just keeps crying to you about the same goddamn thing. So you kind of just like stop giving her advice unless she explicitly comes to you and says like, what do I do? I get that. I would start with that too. I would start with a little like just distance and say like, it's not my business. If she comes to me, I'll say something. Otherwise, I'm not saying nothing. But I can't stand that. I can't stand the people who post that they have an amazing relationship, and I know personally that their relationship is ass and the person sucks. That bothers me in itself. But then it gets worse when like the person in the worst relationship feels like they can dog other people's relationships. I would honestly, I'm the friend, if someone I knew was in a terrible relationship and they're trying to like put down some other person's situation, I would literally look at them like this and I would be like, are you serious?
Like, really? Seriously?
I'd be like, girl, your relationship is not much better, if not worse. I'm not putting up with a friendship like that where she's completely like oblivious and just, I can't do it. It's exhausting. Honestly, just thinking about it, and I don't even know them, is exhausting.
It's exhausting. I've had a friendship like this in the past. It's exhausting.
Oh, you have? Maybe a couple.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
I don't know if it's the one I'm thinking of.
The person that I'm thinking of, I did cut them off.
Oh.
So, and the reason is this. I can deal with the perpetual stupidity of friend that has their situation. Even I don't understand why people put good stuff on social media, but it's really shitty in real life. I think it's really stupid.
Don't put it up. Don't put anything.
It's more of a chuckle to me than anything. But with that being said, I draw the line with the judgment of other people or you. With looking down upon you because you're unpartnered right now. It's like, where do you get off?
I would say, bitch, you're also unpartnered right now.
Like, you're as good as unpartnered, but now you have more stress in your life because you want to be partnered. So that's one thing. Second thing I would say is usually these type of friends are not good friends because they're never going to be happy for you. Oh. When you do get partnered, if you want to be partnered, jealousy? Yeah, the jealousy is always going to be there. So that's another reason to not be their friend. And then lastly, it is too much mental energy bandwidth to always listen to the same problems over and over again. You are not a therapist. You are not being paid to listen to the same problems over and over again. And you're going to need a therapist because you're listening to all of her problems when it's the same thing over and over again. Usually when a friend comes with an issue, relationship or not, I always ask them, do you want advice or do you just want a listening ear? Yes. There's two different types. Yeah. If they want advice, I will give that advice maybe once or twice and then I'm not giving advice anymore because you're not taking it. Listening ear, if I feel like it at that time and my life is hunky-dory and I don't feel like them giving me this bad stuff is gonna get me off on my energy, I will listen. But if you don't feel like listening to someone's negativity over and over again, you don't have to. I don't care if they've been your friend for 25 years. Yeah. Like, you don't have to do this. Yeah. Because friendships are really supposed to enhance both people and you're supposed to have fun with your friend, their family that you choose. If she's always, and they are, they're family you choose. Yes. So if she's always the type that is coming to you with negativity, crying hysterically, panic attacks, all the things that you cited in this letter, I would probably slowly but surely cut her off. Because she's not trying to change her situation.
I think there are literally two options to this. There's either heavy boundaries, which is going to completely change the friendship. Right. So if you want to keep the friendship, like, that's an option, or you cut the friendship off. And the boundaries I mean is like, I've done this to friends before where like,
I know you have. Like, if you mentioned Darren, I'm literally hanging up the phone.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not listening to this.
Sorry, all
anymore.
Darrens in the world.
Yes. If you don't take my advice, one, if you don't take my advice, to stop asking for it. Literally. And two, I don't want to hear the same thing over and over and over again. So I've put up, it's exhausting. Because as a friend, I want to be nice and helpful. And when you have a problem, I want to be like willing to help and like positive for you. Like, yeah, you got this. Right. If I start rolling my eyes because you're talking about like if you're coming to me and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, how can I help? That's a good thing. If you're coming to me and I'm going, clearly that's not something I want to hear anymore. Like, I'm not even being positive towards you as my friend and I want to be positive towards you as my friend. Like, I'm no longer your supporter in that area. I can support you in other things, but not that area because I've reached my limits in that area.
Exhausting. Yep.
So then your friendship becomes, maybe surface level.
Yep.
Yeah, it might become surface level and that's just what your friendship is going to be if you feel like you need to keep them in your life. Otherwise, to me, the biggest thing is like the energy. It's like when every single time I talk to you, the energy is down or sad or somber or low or negative. Everything you say has a negative undertone. You're messing up my vibes over here. Okay, I'm trying to thrive. I'll literally just like stop talking to people. Yeah. Like, I will unfollow you or whatever, but I'll just
like limit the contact.
The contact is like, yeah.
The funny thing is a lot of times those type of girls, like those type of girlfriends, won't really even talk to you when things are good with their dude. And then when things are bad, they want to call you.
Want to call.
Then it's like, oh no, I know some stuff is going wrong because now you want to call. It's like, don't.
So I would say either put her over there or completely like conversation wise have a conversation and be like, we can't be friends anymore.
Or just mute her. The mute button is my best friend.
Bestie. I think you should tell her, because she might be unaware of how, she might be just oblivious. Some people are just oblivious to how they come off, what they talk about constantly, like how their tone is negative. Like they have no clue.
They have no clue. Yeah.
So
you
maybe
definitely address it, like for sure.
I would address it and or cut off their friendship completely.
When it directly affects you and your energy, I would immediately like chop it and
I would
then
say
have that
overall
conversation.
there's like so many strikes in there. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strikes.
For sure.
I'm done.
For sure.
I'm done as the friend.
Yeah.
I just can't at this age. Like if y'all been friends for 17 years and have kids and all this stuff, I know that y'all are grown. I'm not putting up with nobody's energy like that. I just can't.
It's exhausting.
Friend or not, I'm just like,
it's exhausting.
I'm tired. It's
Yeah.
like honestly her energy is bringing you down. Whether you realize it or not, it's bringing you down in some way.
For sure.
It's like her aura is getting on you and it's sticking, and then like it's pushing other good people away. Good luck.
Give us updates. Let us know.
Yeah, I hope she just miraculously changes, but who knows? I think that's gonna be it for today. I think we've been talking for a hot minute.
Yeah, I feel like the end of it was a little bit less labor intensive, so I was glad we ended on some kind of funny ones.
Yeah, this episode was a roller coaster of emotions.
For sure.
Well, we appreciate you guys so much for watching, for writing in, for commenting, for interacting. I know this is a new series, so it's going to be like a slow growth situation. Like not everyone's on board with like 1 hour videos. So, you know, slow grind, but we're going to get there. We're going to keep pumping them out, but we appreciate it. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
We will be back with another episode soon. And we'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.
Kinda new with apologies.